Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's Wednesday morning. It's the half cup, and I literally have a half cup.
Oh, I got a full cup.
I decided to do coffee this morning. I'm not the biggest coffee drinker, but considering how much work we've been doing on Biz LifeCon, I needed some coffee to caffeinate me this morning, get me going.
Girl, I know, I hear you. It's been some long nights, early mornings, but we're on the home stretch. Woo!
Yes. And for those of you that don't know, so we're filming, literally filming Biz LifeCon in essence, as if it's a live broadcast show. So our callers will be flying in from Zoom from all over the country, as well as our guests. And we're filming it at what we like to call the SecondActWomen Studios at Workability, powered by Meta Media. Julie.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
So grateful to Julie DeRoe and her crew. They are literally like stitching it with a switcher and making it all work. Like, who knew all these little things had to go on the back end to kind of get, connect one and feed it into the other and make sure that you all have an amazing experience. So major props to her and to Jared.
Yeah, and we want to remind you, this is going to be different. Again, we know that you've been on a lot of Zoom calls. Pardon me, it's allergy season. It seems like it always comes up when we start the morning cut. What we want you to know, guys, is that we are sending you out all of our guest recipes later today. So we want you to fix a breakfast and have breakfast in the morning with us prior to starting. So that's 8:30, but at 8 o'clock, we're starting with meditation and yoga. That's something new for me. Lupe does that already.
We're loving it. Thanks to Nikki. Props to her on getting you to kind of jump on that bandwagon.
No doubt. She's also my personal coach now. So I love that. But we have that. And Lupe and I are encouraging you guys to start with a glass of a mimosa.
Why not? Right? Like if we were in person, we'd be doing it. So why not virtually, right?
Right. And then we kick it off with Barbara Waxman out of California, who coined the term middle essence, a term I thought my brilliant co-host came up with, and we can learn later.
But what can I say? She beat me to the punch on that one, okay?
She did. You're so good at coming up with that, work wife. And then we've got lunchtime yoga snacks. Like literally, we want you to get up out of your chair, off your couch, or off your patio chair and enjoy a little yoga for 3 minutes, but also 80s videos. Hello, we're taking you back to the 80s because we are Gen X.
Girl,
so we're going to have a little Rick James, a little Howard Jones, Eurythmics playing.
Go-Go's.
Yeah. But the most important thing is we are providing you with 13 workshops and panels, micro workshops that are going to be off the hook. These are actionable. What's going to happen is you're going to learn so much that you're going to be taking so many notes, because we have people that are providing you with not just ways to amp up your YouTube channel or your Facebook subscribers. For instance, Tony Lipsy out of Columbus, Ohio has 96,000 Instagram followers, 100,000 on YouTube. She's going to teach you how the steps to get to those numbers to boost your company brand, hence your sales. But on top of that, they're going to talk about the kinds of equipment that they use when they go live. Olivia Omega shared with us some of the equipment that she's using to build her presence on YouTube. We've got owning your value, where this is business and life, because those are all things important to us. Lupe, you're speaking to that, and Katie Smith.
Yeah, we're going to be covering topics about owning your value and understanding. Sometimes it comes down to just perspective, right? Like we struggle, and myself included. So I'm going to totally throw my name into that, bucket. We struggle sometimes really owning our value, especially as we continue to age, and society tells us, oh, you're past your prime, you no longer, bring the same value. We're in a youth obsessed culture, blah, 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 blah. And, at the end of the day, it's all about, and you know what, lady? Like, no, you are 53, 46, whatever number you are, you have amazing value, but sometimes it comes down to perspective and also being reminded about what you bring to the table. And so super excited about that. My partner in crime too, Miss Katie Smith, is going to be talking about resiliency. We had her on last week, and she is talking about the bounce back factor. And what is, because life will inevitably knock you down, but what do you do when you are down? It's about how you come back up. And so she'll be talking about the importance of that and how to integrate that with some simple tips she'll be sharing. So really jazzed about it.
Which leads us into our special guest on the morning half cup. Usually do the show for an hour, right? On Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on these channels, Facebook and LinkedIn. We are introducing to you Amy Cosper, and this woman is a badass. I mean, I
second that. Absolutely.
I have been a fangirl of yours since I briefly met you when you were with Entrepreneur Magazine years back when you all were doing something here in Denver. I went up really quickly. I was with another company at the time that I had started with Lupe. And I introduced myself. You allowed me to become a Facebook friend. God knows why. Thank you, Ed. And we've been like, it's almost like we know each other. It's so crazy. It's been a really great new friendship that I've had with you, Amy, and the consulting in essence that you're giving. And as our first advisory member of SecondActWomen, we're announcing it here. Yay!
Girl, off to a better start, right? Like,
oh my gosh, right? We're kicking 2020 in the ass.
Yes,
we're
right.
But going into what Lupe was talking about, you're talking about on Friday how to just start. And it's interesting because I've written a blog about this, about how just push play. Sometimes we're so buried with the details of or we hold ourselves back, as Lupe was saying, in essence. And sometimes you just got to go. And so tell us a little bit, giving a little bit about what you're speaking to. And then we're going to jump in and have people ask you questions and everything.
All right. Well, your energy is
free flowing it.
It always is, girl. She's on 24/7.
So I'm like a quarter cup. So,
yeah, a quarter. Okay, so we got a full, a half, and a quarter cup.
Yeah, if we're gonna do math, I just thought I'm a quarter of a cup. But really, the whole overarching theme of the presentation on Friday, it is not scientific. It is not chart and data heavy. It's really just a kiss on the cheek, like we were talking about, to entrepreneurship. And to Lupe's point, how the worlds of entrepreneurship and real life collide, and the lessons that you learn. So the speech is actually chapters from my book. And the chapters that tell the stories of life lessons, like my house burned down in a wildfire 6 years ago, and kind of how to rise up. It's very similar in business. When it's time to quit and it's time to stop digging around in the ashes, how to rise up and start over and just start. So that's it. I mean, it's really nothing, it's not an academic speech. It's stories, just stories.
But I think within stories, there's power, right? Because it's this idea of like, wow, you know what? I think sometimes we feel like, I can't do it. And there's something to be said about whether you read academic stuff and studies show and blah, blah, blah. But if you hear someone legit that you can relate to, that maybe, has been through some similar, maybe the whole narrative isn't the same thing, but there's similar tidbits within the storyline that you can be like, oh, hell yeah, that happened to me, or this, and that all of a sudden this creates this idea of like, well, if she can do it, then I can do it. Right. And it's a really nice kind of springboard for people. So I love the power of story.
As entrepreneurs, as female entrepreneurs, or any entrepreneur for that matter, your greatest asset, and you know this firsthand from this week, my friend Barbara, and your story is your greatest asset. And your ability to communicate that story, whether you're fundraising or pitching an editor, whatever it is, your story is your greatest asset. And you lead with your story every single time. And so that's kind of like the idea for this presentation on Friday.
That's so a lot of women, obviously, because you're a part of this, and even from the beginning, you've kind of been with us, because you were actually going to be our keynote last year when we first launched, but you had sadly a passing in your family and had to go to Texas. The thing that happens though with women over 40 and 50, we've been told too often, especially for those that aren't alphas, let's just say, too often that we can't. So even though we want to push play, we want to start, how do we get out of our own heads and just say, you know what? forget about what my mom is saying, or my husband, or my coworker, or my friends saying that, no, you're going to do what at 51?
Mhm.
Why wouldn't we? We still have half of our life ahead.
Yeah.
So how do we get out of that?
So I think it's a two-part, that's a big question, Barbara, especially for this early in the morning. And I've only got a quarter cup left over here, but really it is surrounding yourself with people who inspire you. If I had listened to all the people who said, no, you can't ride a motorcycle. No, you can't be a business editor. No, you can't be a journalist covering satellite launch vehicle. Like I guess I would just be, I don't know what I would be, but I never took no for an answer. And that's a soulful thing. And it's a confidence thing. Like you have to believe in yourself, and you can be surrounded by no's. I mean, I can't tell you how many startups out of Silicon Valley, people were like, this is stupid. Well, that's how Uber was born. Do you know how hard they had to push? All of the startups, like people are going to surround you with no, but you don't have to take no for an answer. And you really, like as women, we tend to listen to what people are saying about us, and if they say no, we listen. But I'm here to tell you, don't do that. Don't.
Well, it's interesting because we were just talking yesterday on another phone call about how men. So Megan Jo Specht, who is with Amazon Web Services, she's a recruiter. She posted something on LinkedIn that I just had to repost, and it was about how men traditionally will go after the job, even if they're only 60% qualified.
Yeah.
We wait until we're 100%, not 99, but 100%. Mm-hmm. And that also goes with starting a company or doing a lot of things in our lives. And then you have Kanye, who the joke is with the man going around that says, this is proof that men think that they can do anything, even if they're not qualified. Yeah. How do we get, it's so easy to say these words. I'm just trying to figure out, how do we trigger someone to just do it?
So for me, and I think it's different with everybody, like for me, I like taking risks, right? Like I like the adrenaline rush that maybe I will hit a pothole, or maybe, like I like that. I'm a thrill seeker. But not everybody is like that. And I think it really has to come from, this place of being able to inspire yourself, but also having this group of people around you who will inspire you, like we were talking about before. I mean, it's a hard, big question, Barbara. I mean, there's no simple answer, because if you are going to take that step and be an entrepreneur and a founder, and you guys know this, firsthand, it's going to involve some risk, and there's something about risk that is kind of hot,
I love that. And you riding a Ducati.
And I totally agree with you, Amy. I mean, I think it's this idea that, whatever word you put on it, risk, challenge, failure, embarrassment, like there's so many things that I think people attach and put too much value on that limits. I mean, and to your comment earlier about, we're worried about what people think. Like, I mean, people have 60,000 thoughts in one day, right? Yeah. I'd love to say that, hey, I'd love to be someone's 60,000 thoughts, but the likelihood is probably not. So, the odds of someone thinking about you more than a handful of thoughts is ridiculous.
Right.
And so if we put that into perspective and say, you know what, maybe they're thinking about us like 10 thoughts out of the 60,000 that they haven't, like that's a bucket, that's a drop in the bucket. Right. So it's almost kind of like, if you can kind of just understand that and get out of your way, and be okay with whatever that is, stepping into that risk or whatever it might be. It's baby steps. So it's a journey. It's not an instant, just, okay, I think I'm going to do it,
It is. And there's a point at which, in your career or your business or as a founder, like when you're just starting, like we were talking about, you cannot worry about what people are think of you. Like just I zero horse puppies. What anybody thinks about me. Zero
horse puppies. It's true. It's true.
Yeah. What are some of the things that people can do to get on that trajectory, to get out of their heads? Creating morning, afternoon, or some kind of routine, or is it just journaling? Is it starting to tell your story on paper? So not just journaling, but literally going back deep and starting to just write about you and your background? You know, what is it?
Right. I think it's different for everyone. And you know, for me, it's, you know, I'm a writer, so writing is definitely, you know, where I get a lot of confidence and where I, you know, kind of find myself. But also I'm a very unstructured person. So I'm not good at, like, from 9 to 12, I'll journal. From 12 to 2, I'll do that. Like, I just kind of take it by the day, you know, like today, whoo, what a good day to ride a horse. Or, hey, you know, maybe, you know, and a lot of my inspiration comes from being outside and being, you know, just, you know, but it's different for everybody. Most people I know are much more structured than I am. And that's good, that you should be. But I just happen to be a little bit more, you know, of a gypsy in the way I conduct myself.
All I say to that is thank you, Amy, for normalizing that, because I am right there with you. I'm right there with you, sister. And my girl to the side over here, I don't know, like, you're always like, she's the structured one. And sometimes I'm like, girl, you're driving me bonkers. Like, I can't handle all this structure, right? But, you know, but it's this idea, like, there's a line, there's a fine. And I think it's kind of one of those, finding those, you know, that in between line of what serves you and what also then prompts you to create the action.
Right.
Right. So then start to kind of move on that and stuff.
Exactly.
And
it's
there you go.
I
mean, Amy, an amazing woman who's been successful, that it's okay to be a gypsy unstructured.
Yeah. I mean, I'm totally unapologetic, but I sure wish I had more of Barbara in my day, you know, because I am just, I mean, I don't use calendars. I write everything down. Like, I'm a very tactile, you know, I like the whoa!
Oh, I think we're like soul sisters. And then Barb. She's got it like 1 week and then like across and like, I'm like, girl.
I love. Here I am using it all. I'm like using the chat. I'm using like the latest app, and then I still love a good notebook. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my gosh, this is too funny.
I know, Amy. So, 1,220 businesses a day are started by women over 40, and pre-COVID. And my guess is there's going to be more after, only because we can't get hired. So, and a lot of women, I feel like, it's just a gut, are starting to figure out that maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the time to think about that, to take that big idea to the next thing, or take that side gig that I've had for so long, or do what Tony Lipsy, one of our speakers, is doing, went from HR to now making a lifestyle, a life out of what she's doing on Instagram and crafts and all of that. I don't want to say what advice, but I just want to dive deeper into what do they need to do to, what are the tips to start, not just about having the money in the bank. We all know that. What should they really do to get going on that big idea?
Yeah, so the most important thing, and this is how I coach the startups that I work with, the single most important thing you can do, first of all, is know your story. But the thing you have to do to raise funds for, get your message out there, is have a clarity of your vision, right? Be able to state in 3 sentences or less what you do. I make female urinals for concert goers in Denmark, right? That's a real startup that I coach. Yeah.
I love it.
Clarity of vision. And then, you know, like the ones who are confused, the ones who lead with, you know, a couple of paragraphs, it's always, and I'm not trying to throw shade here, but it's always in the technical sector. I make ledgers that, it's like when you're trying to explain blockchain, right? Like, blockchain is a very complicated term, right? But when you meet with companies who can articulate how they're using blockchain within their, you know, their supply chain and in their execution of their ideas, it makes perfect sense. But when people obfuscate with blockchain and with, you know, Bitcoin and all of that. And so I don't really coach those guys, because first of all, I don't really understand it that well. But also the clarity isn't there. And if there's no clarity, it's really hard to execute on your vision. It's easy to raise funds if you say I'm on the blockchain, but it's not as easy to execute the actual business.
Yeah. So that goes to the book that we're giving out. You know, Lupe and I made it a point to read Start With Why. And it's so, you need to start. You're absolutely right. You need to start with why. And you coached us even just recently, you and Michael Beavis, about even tightening up when we were talking about that person, just tightening up our message just a little bit more, because our company started originally as an event production company for Biz LifeCon, and then it's come into a literal, 360-degree business and lifestyle company. But you were able to help us tighten up. And then Lupe and I got off the phone. We said, oh, it feels so much, it rolls off the tongue.
Right.
We now even have a better way to express and say.
Yeah. And it came through that whole testing, right? Like, you're not going to necessarily, like, there's the thing about giving yourself a little grace, right? And the whole idea of like, just do it. Sometimes
a year and a half.
Yeah, you'll come out the gate and you'll be like, okay, this is it, right? Like, this is what I want. And then you're like, well, maybe I need to fine tune, and maybe I need to fine tune. And then with the advice of other, individuals like yourself and like Michael, then we're like, okay, now we're getting to a point where like, it is synthesized to a point where it rolls off even the tongue easier. People get it. It's not so abstract. So it's like this idea of just give yourself the grace to be able to get to that point, and don't think that you have to be there like from day one.
Right.
Exactly. Something good to take away.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the micro businesses though. So we're building what I'm not even going to say hope, but we're building a media company that, will have a global appeal. But we're a micro company right now. There's just two of us. And and we will be for, a couple of years.
Oh, whoa. Not a couple of years.
We're not this is micro business. My role.
Okay.
We have a lot of women that don't want to be this big company. They just want to coach. A lot of coaches out there, they want to be a marketing consultant. They want to focus on YouTube or this or that. And that's what they're going to make their living off of and do well at it. But so how, especially if you're going to be a coach, because there are so many, how do we get them to understand that they have to find their niche for those, especially that are just starting out? Because otherwise there's a sea of coaches and life coaches and,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just like there's a little bit of an element of taking a blind leap into faith. Sometimes when you are dealing with coaching and all of it, it's really just pull the ripcord and kind of make it up as you go along. But I think the key is, and I have struggled with this, like after I left entrepreneur, I spent so many years climbing the top of mastheads and, trying to be this, girl editor, whatever. And after I left, it was like, well, what am I now? Like, am I relevant? Do I matter? And the defining point for me was being able to identify what I wanted to do. Right. And I think that's the same with coaching and with, the solopreneurs and women mentors, by the way, are some of the best mentors I've ever had. Just, and I'm kind of a tomboy, but I've gotten so much from the women I've surrounded myself, like, and you guys too, just giving me, making me feel relevant and like I can move forward from, like some of the places where I've been really stuck. And a lot of it is just like moving, like just keep doing stuff.
So interesting. So let me kind of dive in a little bit more into that topic, the idea of relevance, right? So you come from an industry where it's, primarily, we were talking the other day, male dominated. A lot of, the hierarchies, the decision makers, the investors are all predominantly male. And you rose to some pretty high ranks, as the editor-in-chief of Entre. So I'm curious, like when you talk about being so outnumbered, oftentimes a lot of our women too talk about, well, I'm like one of 20 in my department, or I am the single Latina, out of the whole company, or like, right. We're talking like, whether it becomes, that we're just not represented at the top, in management, et cetera. So how did you dig into yourself? Like how did you create your moxie to kind of say, no, I'm going to climb up and I'm going to get to the top? Like what did that look like for you? I'm curious.
Well, it looked a lot like, so here's and I'm curious to get your take on this, but I ignored it. Like I ignored the fact that I was female. I was an editor. And when people would come up to me and say, wow, you're a really great female editor, I would be like, I'm not going to make the image, but like,
I'm an editor.
I'm an editor, right? Like you don't have to give me some sort of, declare like I am a great editor. You don't
Yes.
And so I ignored it, and I did okay by ignoring it. However, having said that, there are many, many things, and I never was one for, oh, you're a female entrepreneur, here are these things. Well, actually, there are a lot of different issues for female entrepreneurs, right? Like, there are challenges. I just chose to just be in the dudes club, right? Like, I wanted to play in a big sandbox. And, after I left, kind of that really intense media environment, I just made a promise with myself that I was only going to do things that are, that make me happy and that have some sort of purpose and will have an impact, a positive impact on the world, and leave your ego behind. I mean, that's also in my speech on Friday.
I love that. And I think that's
I love that.
powerful words, right? Like, Barb, like I know you talked about that with our business women. So, I mean, right? Like, we're not women in business.
Right.
Yeah, we don't use that term. I was one day I was just thinking, I was talking to Lupe or something, and I started thinking, wait a minute, why do they say women in business instead of business women, like they do businessmen? Why is it or housewife, or why do we have to put us in this little cup, this little area, instead of just saying businesswoman, businessman? So I don't even use women in business. I don't hashtag it, even though I know that'll get us exposure to women, but I don't believe in that. I remember, by the way, when I was younger, and I used to laugh it off, but now, as a more aware African-American, triple minority, so Black, tall, and a woman, I remember people saying, "Oh, you're pretty for a Black girl."
I don't like that.
Like, it's like, what does that mean? And I've gotten the token Black thing, where people
you speak English very well.
Yeah. Oh, you speak well. Yeah. But I'm like you, Amy, and I think Lupe is the same. And I want to impress upon women to do the same. Because a lot of our women still are in corporate. They will never be entrepreneurs. More power to them. But also just ignore it. Just do you, as they like to say.
Yeah.
And
like what you do
anything.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter if you're male or female or Black or Latino or what. Be great, right? You have one job, you have one assignment, and that is to be great. That's it.
I love it.
That's it. Just
mic drop, right? Like, that's fantastic.
Okay, so before we end this, Amy, let's talk about, where are you from? Because you live in Colorado, but where are you from?
So I grew up in Dallas, but I've lived all over the world, and I'm now in north of Fort Collins, up in the mountains on a ranch. But I spent my childhood in Texas. So.
Okay.
And as a side note, all my exes live in Texas.
Literally.
Like, I've moved on. And another cool fact about you was, I mean, I know you kind of peppered in a little bit here, but on your title, I saw, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Ducatista?
Ducatista, it's an Italian name for people who ride Ducatis or are enthusiasts for Ducatis, and that has been sort of my, kind of my thing is motorcycle riding and motorcycle riding around the world. And, it's kind of, when you're on a bike, it's a lot like being in business. You go where you look, and you can go really fast and drag a knee, or you can stare at a pothole and hit it and crash by, which I've done. But that's what a Ducatista is.
Yeah, I love, girl. Okay, we have one badass speaker or keynote coming to you. Like, now we know she's not only kicked butt in the publishing world, she's kicking butt on the road, in life. Like, so thrilled to have you in our life.
Thank you.
I agree, and we are so thrilled to have you on Friday at Biz LiveCon, and frankly, as a friend of ours, we really, really, really appreciate you. Having you in our lives, personally and professionally. So thank you for your support. You've sent us lots of really great messages, you and I in the back, that have really kept us motivated. And we just thank you. And you're the type of people, and ladies and gents, that's the kind of person you keep in your bucket of friends. So, you know, and I'm not talking about those crabs that are trying to create. This is a different bucket. so
Thank you. And you know, I wish you all and anyone who's watching, everyone, so much success, and just go out there and be great. That's it. That's all you got to do.
Be great
and beautifully.
Stay on, Amy. We're going to end the show, and then we'll just talk to you for a quick second afterwards.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
thank you, Amy Cosper.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love the simplicity of the message. Just be great. I mean,
just be great.
It speaks to the whole idea that we all have innate, beautiful gifts and talents. So it's our time to share and be proud of what you bring to the table, because there is no other person like you.
No, and it's like Katie Smith said, and I'll never forget this. The person who was on last week. We are a masterpiece. This is my DNA, your DNA, Amy's DNA. We are our own masterpiece. There's not one like you in the world. And so do your best, be great, and make an impact if you can. You know, even if it's as small, as I said the other day, as putting a coin in somebody's meter, or, you know, doing a random act of kindness, but be great at whatever it is you decide that you're going to do in life. And we look forward to seeing you all on Friday at Biz Life Con. And we're just so excited that this is number 3. And in actuality, as Lupe and I were talking, the next week is actually 2 years since we walked into a brainstorm session with Trisha Wackerly and Danielle Atchison and Cheyenne Moore and Ching to brainstorm what it is. Honestly, they were blessings to me, what my next thing was going to be, because I wanted to create something different. And I wanted, of course, Lupe to come along with me, and I'm glad she did.
I'm glad I did too.
So I'm just so excited to bring you guys a unique virtual conference on Friday. And when I say I mean we is really what I mean. Lupe and myself and the volunteers who are joining us in studio on Friday at Workability. We will be masked up when we're not on screen and 6 feet apart. We want to let you know we believe in that. Wear your masks. CDC is absolutely right. Follow their word, please. And Dr. Anthony Fauci. That was my moment of
it was your PSA, is what that was. Yeah. PSA that needs to be said. So,
yeah. So we want to say thank you. And Lupe, do you have anything else to say, my love?
No, you know what? I mean, I just invite you to say yes to you. Take the time to tap into, connect with. While we may not be able to do it in person, we are working hard to create that community for you, and are just excited about all of the amazing women, just like Amy, that we are attracting into our community to be able to present to you on Friday. So do us a solid, join us, support. If you're enjoying what we're bringing to the table, show up for us. We'd love to see you there.
Love it. Bye, everyone. Have a good morning. See you tomorrow morning. Morning Cup.